You're watching the Local Footy Show, and of course it's finals time. Finals time conjures up all sorts of great stories of the past. You know, fellas, 55 years ago, night football was born. And even though it was the VFL in those days, it really was much more localised, so it does earn a spot on the Local Footy Show because this is a story exclusive to us, Benny.
That's true, where the ball that was used in that night football game is still around.
The first ever grand final back in 1956.
Yep, so it belongs to Steve Cullen and his family, and they are just so rapt to have that in their family as a memento of that game.
Turn back the hands of time, roll back the sands of time, let's live it over again.
Radio was still king and television was about to explode onto the scene. But when umpire Harry Beitzel bounced the white ball to commence proceedings in the very first VFL night premiership between South Melbourne and Carlton at South's Lake Oval on Monday, September 17, 1956, little did he know he would be marvelling at its condition more than 50 years later.
Harry, how does it feel to have the old 1956 grand final footy in your hand again?
Well, it's unbelievable, Ian. Unbelievable, and it's in such great condition. And to all of our viewers, let me tell you that on this, you won't be able to see it on the television camera, but all these names, and these are the names of the players for South Melbourne. This was presented to Mr. J.P. Cullen. I remember, he was president of South Melbourne.
Jack is the grandfather of former SFL umpire Steve Cullen, who unearthed the prize ball recently.
Steve, what have we got here, mate?
And we've got a bit of history here, mate. We've got the very first football used in a VFL night grand final way back in 1956 between South Melbourne and Carlton. My grandfather was president at the time, and since then no one else knows that we have this here. So it's a bit of history here, and it's got a lot of great names on here. It was presented to my grandfather well after the premiership that they won, and my grandfather kept it in his house for a very long time. Then he passed it down to my dad, and then my dad has since passed it on to me.
Well, as far as I can recollect, Dad always told me the story that he's a personal friend of Ross Faulkner, and Ross Faulkner had it mounted and presented to Dad. You know, Dad was very proud of it because I think, you know, they hadn't won a grand final for a long time.
Now look at some of the players. Ronnie Clegg, he wasn't captain of this side. Ian Gillette was captain of this side, and Eddie Lane was vice captain. Jimmy Taylor played, of course. I worked with Jimmy at Shell Company. Kenny Seymour played, rough and tough. He became a famous swimming coach. This particular match, he was playing on Ken Solvol hands. I nicknamed Ken Hands Solvol. Talk about tough. And those two, in the early part of that game, they were trading elbows and punches, and I had to go up to them both and say, listen, you've had a good go, you two blokes. Don't you think you've had enough? Can't we just play a bit of football instead of me having to blow this damn whistle all the time? I'm running out of breath.
Yeah, well, Seymour was a pretty rough bloke and I wasn't. And I remember he biffed me in front of the goal, and on the way back to the centre I gave him one for his corner, and Harry Beitzel happened to be pretty close by, and he said, well, that's one each. He said, just forget it. So that was the end of that for the night.
1955 Brownlow medalist Fred Goldsmith remembers it well.
Ken Hands, he'd start a fight, then he'd nick off, but he was a tough bloke. Ken Hands, when he took on Ken Seymour, he wasn't behind the door at throwing him either, but they fought each other for a good minute too.
Yeah, well, Fred and I, we're good mates, and I think I roomed with him on an interstate trip, and then we came back and played South Melbourne after that, and I think Fred was playing full forward, and I was going the opposite way, tried to sport him and split his lip. he didn't appreciate that after we rooming together, but, you know, he was a good mate.
Cheer, cheer the red and the white.
South took out the very first night premiership by 6 points, and one of the stars of the victory was 17-year-old rover Brian McGowan, who achieved the remarkable feat of playing in 3 VFL Grand Finals in the space of a few weeks in the thirds, reserves and night Grand Finals.
Little fella Brian, he was only he was about as tall as Paul Callery, or even Tony Liberatore is now. With McGowan, and we had McGowan and Skilp, 2 great rovers, but McGowan was a real pacey little bloke, fast left footer, and he real goal sneak. He might have kicked a few goals in those finals, the night games. But Brian is doing well now. He's over in Adelaide. He's got a hotel. We catch up occasionally.
And another future legend of the game was in his first season with the Blues.
Johnny Nichols played in that game. Gee whiz, what a giant of a man. He still is. He had thighs bigger than your body. That's how big and tough.
Big John started I think he started in 56, 7. Big young fella. Carlton went up to sign his brother, Don Nichols, who was a champion up there. And they saw this, when they were talking to Don Nichols, they saw this bloke in the background, big, tall, solid young bloke. And they said to him, do you play footy? And he said he played a bit, so it turned out it was John Nichols. So they got John, and who turned out a champion.
But in 1956, the lighting wasn't quite up to today's standards, as Carlton's Kevin Icy Hamilton recalls.
It was lighting. You could see where you were doing, running around all right. It was quite good running around. But my only problem, or our only problem, most players had trouble trying to judge marking the ball. When you went for a mark, it was quite different trying to mark a ball coming out of the darkness sky. And you're usually up and down. For a mark, you're up and down before the ball ever got to you.
And the lights weren't all that good, which is good from umpiring viewpoint. No one knew whether you're making mistakes or not.
It was a faster game with the white ball. You used to have the one white ball, and that would be for the whole match. Now they have football every quarter. But we didn't have the lighting. We had the four light towers, and probably because we trained on that ground, that we had a bit of an advantage, and with the lights on, and we won the first 2 night games. First one against Carlton, the second one against Kilburn. They all said it was got up for the South Melbourne, the home ground advantage.
Yes, it was a different era, the era of part-time footballers.
Everybody had to work those days. They did not like it is now. Everybody had a job, and nobody had cars or anything like that. Used to get local transport to and fro from the game.
The build-up, you would have been at work on the Monday, all the players and the umpires, and along you go and just do the game. But I do recall afterwards, we had a pretty good celebration in the South Melbourne Cricket Club. And Cleggy and Solbold, all the Carlton blacks, they all came over as well.
The 1956 night series signalled a brand new era for football.
It was something new, something new, and it was because for players, for teams that didn't make the finals, it was a bit of glory there, I suppose.
I think they got something like 30,000 of this match. 30, that's a heck of a crowd for down there at South Melbourne.
Created a lot of interest for all the supporters. They used to come from everywhere. Every night we'd get 25, 30,000. I know the grand final was 34,000.
Well, you can remember that those days, you were huddled in together, and you couldn't save your spot. Once you left, that was gone, So if you got there early and got a good spot on the slope, and you had to hold it for the rest of the night if you wanted to see anything.
Great memories. And the ball has survived better than many of the participants of that benchmark game, thanks to the late Jack Cullen and his family.
He was a lovely bloke, old Jack. He was a plumber, and he did all the plumbing work at put the showers in the bathroom at South. We only had two showers, and there was a little bath. He put a bath in there for them. Now, gee, he was a great man, old Jack.
He was president from 46 through to 60, but he'd actually been associated with the club since 1929.
1956, when night football was born and when fun was the name of the game.
It's good to see that that footy brings back a few memories.
That's right. Good, it was all good fun.
They were good days. I wouldn't sell them for nothing, for anything. We remember those. Remember those times, great.
I can think back, you know, but you get so many memories in football. Isn't it wonderful?
Turn back the hands of time. Let's live it over again.
Timekeeper, Dal Bernard. Yeah, property steward, Billy Lyle. Yeah.